the Victorian Labor government is considering backing a trial of pill testing at medical clinics across the state, but not at music festivals, which, as we know, are rife with drug use. It's understood that if the Allan government was to go ahead with this plan, it would effectively kill off a second injecting room in the CBD, which has been in limbo for years now. The government's still sitting on a report over this that they got more than a year ago. I mean, CBD businesses, Paul, would be quite happy, I think, at the prospect of not having an injecting room put smack bang in the middle of the CBD. And, you know, they talked about various places, including in front of the Flinders Street station, you know, the gateway to Melbourne. It'd be lovely, see all the crackheads hanging around there. But the idea of allowing pill testing, I have always argued, is basically state-sanctioned, go and take your drugs. You go in, get it tested, they say, well, we haven't found rat poison or whatever it might be in this. You are free to go and take it now. That does not mean that what you are taking is safe, even though someone has told you it is safe to take.
I hate this stuff, not because I understand the arguments around harm minimisation, all the rest of it, right? But pick a lane, okay? I always think about their attitude towards illegal drugs and their attitude towards tobacco, right?
Yep.
Their attitudes towards tobacco is everyone should get off it, should be as least socially acceptable as possible. Instead, their attitudes to drugs are, well, it's already illegal, but people are doing it anyway, so let's work out a way to facilitate. There are behaviours that are supposed to be unacceptable, and if the legal smoking of tobacco is in that, then the use of illegal drugs should be there. But then again, this is the state of Victoria and a wider world where a 12-year-old can't get a tattoo, but a 12-year-old can change their gender. Yeah,
it's a good point, and I think you're right. The discussion around drugs, and they do the same with alcohol, of course. I mean, you're basically saying, Liz, here it is. Go and do whatever the hell you want. And it's the same with the injecting rooms. I mean, you're saying here is a safe place to come and shoot up drugs. Now, if you're funneling people through an injecting room and sending them straight off to get some kind of counselling or medical help or whatever, sure, there might be an argument for that. But that's not what they do. It's a place where you can go and safely, quote unquote, take drugs. Why would we encourage it?
And the current injecting room has crowed that they've saved roughly 63 lives over the tenure that they've been open. But at the same time, they've accommodated over 700,000 people going in there and shooting up. What's the use of telling kids, don't do drugs, they're dangerous, if you're going to actively work to make them safer, in fact, give them a false sense of security? Naturally, you're going to see an uptick in people taking them. It simply doesn't work. We're already seeing the laws in the ACT, the far laxer laws around drugs, who can take them, when, how much, if you can grow marijuana, all the rest of it, taking its toll in that neck of the woods. Victoria seems determined to go to the same place. And they actually bought that plot of land across the road from the station for $45 million. That's how serious they were about this second injecting room. We don't know yet what's in this report. Victorians should be beating down the government's door to find this out. It was actually finished end of 2020, and the government has sat on it for this long. That is highly suspicious. And of course, they've given all these rubbish reasons as to why they haven't released it yet, but you can bet your bottom dollar that whatever's in there is clearly damning to whatever plans they cooked up.
What do you reckon, Joe? Just let them take the pills?
I think this is one of these debates which isn't necessarily about what, but how. Like, I was all in favour and remain all in favour of the injecting room in King's Cross, and that has prevented God knows how many overdoses. But that was in the middle of a commercial strip that had become, ironically, the businesses were worried that this would turn it into a no-go zone. It was already a no-go zone. There were people on the night. I used to live nearby. I wasn't one of the clients. But the Victorian one is near a primary school, public primary school. So that, again, is one of the problems. So it's not, do you have an injecting room or not? It's like, well, if you're going to do it, what's the best place to do it? You want it away from schools, away from residential areas.
I have a great place.
And where a whole bunch of junkies are already congregating, so at least they're in there and not out engaging with the community. I think it's also a different proposition when we had a heroin epidemic, of course, in the 1990s. Ice is a very different kettle of fish because you don't just go on the nod and fall over and you're no harm to anyone but yourself, but you get full of beans, you get crazy, you don't sleep, and you go out and kill people with axes in one particular case. But when it comes to this, but again, I don't understand how is this pill testing clinic actually going to work? I mean, if you're going to doing the pill testing, surely you want to be doing it at the point where someone's about to make a really dangerous decision. Not when someone's saying, oh, well, I've just got my batch of disco biscuits here. I've got my sheet of 100. I'll just go down to the one and only ecstasy testing clinic in Melbourne CBD and or are they going to do it like one at a time?
Yeah.
You know, what about all the glow stick shops that suddenly set up next to them?
You know,
I mean, I don't understand how this is. So again, if you're going to do it, you don't make it hard for people to access, because people do drugs to have a good time. Because it's easy. Because it's easier to have a good time by taking drugs and doing hard work.
Well, and it's cheaper. It's cheaper than the legal drugs we have available, because we've taxed them into oblivion. I mean, you've been a copper, Evelyn. What do you see as the best way to deal with people who are taking drugs? As someone who's been in a position where you've had to deal with drug takers,
you arrest them. That would be the best option. It's illegal to do drugs, to do illegal drugs. Okay, so this is what I cannot understand, and I'm tired of us. Why are we so hell-bent on legitimising bad behaviour? Because that is all that these places do. They legitimise bad behaviour. Not only do they legitimise bad behaviour, there's a famous quote that is, being around for a very long time before me, but if you continue to reward bad behaviour, you will get more of it. So I say we actually just do what the law says and arrest these people, put them where they belong, and how about the judicial system does its job?
That's why Perrottet, who is one of the most conservative premiers New South Wales had, he said that's just not the reason. You get all these tiny little cases, which often end up with the judges sending them off with a good behaviour bond anyway. Cops, are obliged to clog up the court system with them. They're people who don't have any other criminal record, especially when you're dealing with ecstasy. Hardcore drug users who are addicts, that's a different story. Often they turn to property crime and stuff like that. And with ice, they can become very, very violent. You know that way better than me.
Seen that. My face has seen that.
But again, if you are just frog marching every single person who gets caught with a single ecstasy tablet with them through the courts.
How come Singapore can do it? They've got the lowest crime rate in the world. You can't even spit chewing gum out on the path out of fear of being sent to jail for 10 years. I mean, I know they don't get everything right. I know they don't get everything right, but it can be done. We choose not to do it in this country of ours for some reason.
But as it says, it can be done if you say, right, well, we're going to be the sort of country where you get arrested for chewing gum.
You're not going to go after.
Let natural selection take its course. If you are dumb enough to take this stuff,
fair point.
Let it be known. You know what? Go for your life, but it could be the last pill you pop. You remove that, then people are just going to be like, oh, well, there's no risk attached to this.
Exactly.
The whole don't do drugs thing is now redundant.
You're kind of taking away the personal responsibility, I think. There's a state-sanctioned way to get on the drugs, and we tell you it's safe.